Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this special business meeting for the District of Squamish for Tuesday, July 12th. Hatsqualwan, Queesalukmak, Laskahomish, Ochmeo. We are meeting today on the traditional unceded territory of Squamish Nation. Motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Councillor French, seconded by Councillor Herford. Any opposed? Motion carries. So we're on item 3, bylaws. First up is first 3 readings of the District of Squamish Code of Conduct bylaw number 2919/2022. And we'll also be speaking to the remuneration bylaw at the same time, I think, Ms. Pollock. All right, over to you.
Good morning, Council. My name is Charlene Pollock. I'm the Manager of Legislative Services, and I'm here to present on the Code of Conduct bylaw and the amendment to the Council Remuneration bylaw. So the purpose is to provide a very brief overview of the Code of Conduct bylaw and the Council Remuneration bylaw. So background, the draft bylaws were presented to Council at the June 28th Committee of the Whole meeting. There were some questions. Responses to questions have been addressed in the staff report, so I won't walk through those. And a few minor changes to the bylaw are outlined in the redlined version of the Code of Conduct bylaw. And I'll just give a very brief overview of the Code of Conduct bylaw. So Part 2 of the bylaw speaks to standards and values. Part 3, conduct of elected officials. Part 4, the addition of complaint and resolution procedures. And Part 5, appointment of an investigator. And the bylaw includes that confidential requests may be submitted to the CAO without the requirement for a formal complaint. And there are procedures for informal resolution and formal resolution. And wording includes that the investigator will give strong preference to the informal resolution wherever possible. So the Council Remuneration bylaw aligns with the draft Code of Conduct bylaw and includes reduced remuneration in the event that a council member contravenes the Code of Conduct. So once adopted, both bylaws will be uploaded to the district website and staff will be available to answer questions. Local government election candidates will be provided with both of the bylaws as part of the nomination package. And just to note, the nomination packages are available, so we'll add these once adopted. So next steps, bylaws will be brought forward for adoption following first 3 readings. So if first 3 readings is given today, then they could come forward for adoption next week. An amended oath of office will be drafted from wording that the province recently introduced. And Code of Conduct policy or procedure will likely be required that outlines mediation steps and procedures, and forms will need to be developed. So staff recommendation is that the District of Squamish Code of Conduct bylaw number 2919/2022 be given first 3 readings, and that the District of Squamish Remuneration and Expenses bylaw number 1503/1997, amendment bylaw number 2918/2022 be given first 3 readings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pollock. Council, I know we had a really good discussion about this at June 28th, but there are a few changes. So I'll just ask if there's any questions for Ms. Pollock. Ms. Pollock, the oath of office, that can be tailored in any way we see fit. We don't just have to use the provincial wording when that comes to us.
Yes, that's correct.
So the first 2 readings are moved by Councillor Stoner, seconded by Councillor Herford on the Code of Conduct bylaw 2919/2022. Councillor Stoner, do you want to comment?
Thank you. Through the chair, I do want to comment. I did speak to this when we had our more fulsome discussion on June 28th, but I do think it's important to highlight just how critical this piece of work is in terms of updating our code of conduct so that we're creating a space where everyone and anyone can feel comfortable around this table. I think two key pieces for me is that it really encourages council debate to focus on the issues, but protects the people around the table. And there's another key piece in here where I think is really important, where there are measures in place so that the code of conduct can't be weaponized against a member of council. So I think we've done our due diligence here. I appreciate that it's being tied to the remuneration bylaw. Thank you to staff for answering the questions that we had on June 28th and having the redlined version in the package. That was very helpful. And I just want to acknowledge that I've already been able to share this with some of our colleagues through the corridor. We highlighted it when we were at the Squamish Regional District meeting last month after our committee of the whole meeting. And I have had colleagues who are on UBCM reach out and ask for the first draft of the bylaw as they're interested in the work that we're doing here. So just want to thank my council colleagues for supporting this and for staff for doing the hard work. Thank you.
Did you want to speak as a seconder? Councillor French.
Thanks, Mayor. And I, too, am speaking in favor of the motion. Thankful to staff for all the work that went into this and the great discussion amongst council. I've said before, and I'll say it again, I think that this Code of Conduct bylaw is going to serve the community well into the future. It ensures that council has tools to deal with anyone who opts to leave the realm of civil discussion and productive policy making to create headaches for everybody else around the table and those that are actually committed to civil discussion. And then on top of that, financial incentives in the remuneration bylaw to make sure that future policymakers have to operate with integrity, or the first choice is to operate with integrity. So I support the motion.
Councillor Petgill.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone for pulling this together. There's a lot of good content in here. I was reflecting on it though a little bit and just, I guess, reminding myself that this isn't our first line of defense in terms of problems. This is the fallback when things go south, and it gives us a structure hopefully to handle that more effectively. But I think we've been successful as a council without this, largely because I think we set a strategic plan early and we all got behind it, and we always sort of look to that and make sure that we're setting aside our egos, we hold to our confidence, but we don't let our egos get in the way of achieving what we put in the strategic plan. And I think for me, that's the first line of defense for poor behavior and so on, is really thinking about why we're here. But I think this is a really critical backup piece to remind us of what the expectations are and give us a way to handle things constructively if we do run into problems. So I think it's really important, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Race.
Thank you. And I'll also be supporting this, and I'll echo the comments of my fellow councillors and add, first of all, my thanks to staff for guiding us through this. But also, I think, with an election coming up, it's something I think for people who are aspiring to a seat at this table to look at this, it should be easy for anybody sitting in this chair to comply with this code of conduct. And if you're having difficulty with that, I think you really have to rethink your aspirations. But this should be very easy for a good councillor to comply with.
Thank you, Councillor Race. Any further comments? Go ahead, Councillor Herbert.
Thank you. I'm really happy that we're able to pull this together as a group, and as a group that, in my opinion, hasn't needed this policy. So there's been other groups around this table that would have really benefited from this work, and but it's impossible to do at that time. So I appreciate the moment in time that I've been able to be at this table with all of you, and we've been able to move this important piece of work forward to hopefully positively affect the tone of the discussions around this table going forward long into the future. So thank you very much. Speaking in support, clearly.
All right, so I'll add my comments. So the kernel of this idea to strengthen our code of conduct policy came to me when our CAO and myself, with a lawyer, were part of a panel at a conference, virtual conference during the pandemic. And we were talking about good governance and council staff relations and a number of things. And the lawyer said the best time to work on a code of conduct is when you have a really good council that doesn't need a code of conduct. And so it was that comment on that panel that made me realize that this was the council to do the work on updating our policy, making it a bylaw. And I am just really, really proud of this council for putting the teeth into this bylaw and remuneration policy and connecting it to our procedure bylaw, our respectful workplace policy. And as you say, making sure that the floor is there, that foundation for when things might go wrong. But to me as well, it's coming to the table with the intent, and I'll steal this from one of my colleagues on the island, to be hard on ideas and soft on people, and that we don't have to debate personalities, but we can debate policy, and we should, in a really healthy and vigorous way to make sure that we're making good decisions for our community. So I do hope this signals the two prospective candidates that there is a high bar, and that they need to come to the table with that in mind. I hope it signals to more diverse candidates in our community that if needed, there is a level of protection here to make sure that there's respectful debate at the table. And, you know, mostly I think we're setting up this next council really well to meet the new regulations, which requires them to review or create a code of conduct within 6 months of being elected. And I think what we're handing off to the next council is, I would say, the strongest one in the province, bar maybe Vancouver and Surrey, who have an ethics commissioner. But certainly for a small community, I would suggest that this is a powerful piece of policy that will serve our district well. So thank you, council, for doing the hard work in committee of the whole to make sure that this was right for Squamish. So I'll call the question on the code of conduct. Any opposed? Motion carries. And then on District of Squamish remuneration expenses bylaw, I'll see if there's any questions specific first to the remuneration bylaw. And if there aren't, is there a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Race, seconded by Councillor Herford. Any comments on the remuneration bylaw? Seeing none, any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have a couple of things for adoption under 3B. That's District of Squamish Revenue Anticipation Borrowing Bylaw number 2920-2022 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Stoner, seconded by Councillor French. Any opposed? Motion carries. District of Squamish Operation and Maintenance of the Mount Garibaldi Cemetery Bylaw 1532-2012 Amendment Bylaw 2917-2022 be adopted. Moved by Councillor French, seconded by Councillor Anderson. Any opposed? Motion carries. And that District of Squamish authorize the mayor and corporate officer to execute the land development agreement associated with the District of Squamish zoning bylaw number 2200-2011 Amendment Bylaw for the Upper Finch Drive rezoning number 2811-2021, and that the District of Squamish zoning bylaw for the Amendment Bylaw for Upper Finch rezoning number 2811-2021 be adopted. By Councillor Herford, second by Councillor Race. Any opposed? Motion carries. Motion to terminate. Sorry, I'm looking at the paper copy in front of me. That does not have the road closure.
That's correct. This is the correct.
Oh. Right, we're not doing the road closure. All right, motion terminate. Moved by Councillor Stoner, second by Councillor Herford. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So we'll take a brief recess to get set up for our committee of the whole.